left yesterday talking about that a mitzvah seems to be running away from us, and Aveira's sins are pursuing us. Correct? And we explained that really it's the imagination's fault. The imagination makes us believe that if we just do this sin, it will be so amazing, so cool, so exciting, so tasty, right? Like a diet. You get on a diet and somebody brings pizza into the room, and the only thing you can think of is like, I gotta have a slice. It's not going to be that bad. I'll work out tomorrow. Yeah, you come up with all sorts of, because the pizza's right there, and you see the steam coming, and there's the imagination tries to convince you that if you did this sin, things would be amazing. But it's fake. Because once you eat the slice of pizza, it's not the best pizza you've ever had. It's just a slice of pizza. Was it worth it? A lot of people will shrug their shoulders, like, but I gotta have another slice because I already washed, so I gotta have another slice. What about your diet? Diet's mine tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow. Everybody starts their diet on Sunday. Everybody. Yeah, because after and you make the decision after eating the chulent, and you can lean back. Okay, that's it. That's it. Tomorrow. Then somebody brings in pizza, and then you're like, okay, next Sunday. That's the imagination. But the mitzvah, we don't have a sense that there's pleasure in doing a mitzvah. But that's something that he says, that based on that Mishnah that we read yesterday, it doesn't happen. There seems to be some gravitational force towards sin, and there seems to be some sort of holding back when it comes to a mitzvah, that it makes it that you need extra power to get going. Wait when it gets a little colder in Jerusalem, and it's time to get up for minyan. It's very, very hard. You put your toe outside. You stick your toe outside the blanket, and it, freezes. There's an icicle. The imagination plays tricks on you. Tells you it's going to be so nice. Just stay here. Just daven. You'll catch up. You can just do it faster. Then I'll just put on tefillin and mincha. It's okay. You know what? I'll go to the Dushinsky. I'll figure it out. It'll be all right. And then there's banging on the doors from Shlomi saying, it's time for class. Where are you? What are you doing? Okay. So that's the idea. Now we understand that the path for our free will is to select between the good, which seems to be running away from us, the mitzvah, and the bad, which seems to be pursuing us. That's the decision that we have to make. Correct? Most people of this world simply live by habits that they acquired from their parents and grandparents and generations. They just follow what they're used to. They don't really make decisions. Most people who, let's say, who are Jewish don't keep kosher, not because they know what kosher, they're just not used to it. There's nothing against it. They're just not on their radar. You tell somebody, don't drive on Shabbos, they're like, why not? Well, what's wrong with that? Well, God doesn't want you to drive. Really? Like God really cares? Yes. Well, why has nobody told me this? Where are you coming from, man? What's next? You're going to tell me I have to eat a box of crackers a week in the spring? It's exactly what I'm going to tell you. How'd you know? But nobody seems to question that. Pesach, eating matzah. Because we're habituated, we're used to, like Jews buy matzah on Pesach. But if you tell them, listen, we have all these laws with regard to eating, listen, don't get too crazy on me. Yeah, don't take it easy. So the question is, how do we make our decisions when we are placed in a situation where bad sin draws us, pulls us, attracts us, and the good doesn't. Not only that the pleasure of doing a mitzvah, if you've never done a mitzvah, you haven't tasted the pleasure. So why would you want to do that? It's only once you experience the pleasure of learning Torah, of doing mitzvahs, right? Doing chesed. Once you experience the pleasure, you want to do it again. But if just imagine a person that hasn't. And you come and you tell him, listen, do mitzvahs, learn Torah. Like, why? What am I going to... It's fun, it's going to be great, you're going to love it. Really? But I'd rather just go out with my friends. That's where most people are in terms of making a choice between good and evil. So, there are those who say, well, the way to make a decision between good and evil, what to choose, is by figuring out what is truth and what is falsehood. Which path is true and which path is false. If you follow the path that is true, then you're set. You're okay. If you follow the path that is false, path of falsehood, then you're going to get to a dead end. Got it? So how can you tell the difference between right and wrong, between truth and falsehood? What's the tool that you have to distinguish between the two?
Torah.
What?
Torah.
Nope.
Is it theoretical?
Because the Torah, in this case, you don't really know that the Torah is true. Just talking about the ordinary person. What does he use in order to decide what is true and what is false?
Brain.
His brain. Correct. Takes the book and just whacks it.
He seems
What?
the path leads to nowhere, like what he's doing. Like they all realize.
So he has to use the intellect. He has to use his intellect to figure out which path is the true path and which path leads him to a dead end, falsehood. He has to make that distinction. And how is he going to make that distinction? Only if his mind hasn't been corrupted. That he can actually see through the images, the imaginations, the nonsense that the world presents and figure out what is the truth. If he can't do that, if his mind doesn't work clearly, he's not going to choose the right thing. Not because he doesn't want to choose the right thing, it's because he doesn't have the tools for it. So only if a person has the right kind of thinking will he be able to tell the difference between a mitzvah that it leads to the truth and the lies, the falsehood that sin leads you to. But if the intellect has been bribed by the imagination, bribed by the desires of the body, saying, this is the stuff we want sugar, we want sweets. That's what the body says it wants. Right? Then it's going to be very, very hard to make the right decisions. I was sitting somewhere and there's a person who is eating and his wife said, this stuff is very fattening, don't eat it. He says, what is this? It's vegetables. You don't get fat from vegetables. So I said, have you seen an elephant? Elephants eat vegetables. What? You don't like elephants? So if the intellect is bribed, is drawn, led by the imagination, and the imagination and pleasure is what's pulling him, telling him that the world of sin is better, is more true than the world of Torah, then this person is a goner. He's not going to be able to get out of this. You hear, Kevin? He's going to be stuck. Because if you are involved in the world of sin, you realize at some point that you keep adding. Because when you do a particular sin, then eventually you need something sort of more. Because that sin no longer feels special. You got to go to the next level. And it leads you to situations where it's hopeless. Look at what's happening in, sort of the entertainment industry. These people are miserable. And you'd think they have everything. They have money, they have power, they have fame. Why are they killing themselves? Why are they miserable? They should be the happiest. Because they realize it's not where meaning is. It's not there. It's not about money and power and fame. That's not it. It'd be nice if you had a little bit of it. Because we all need some money and we need some power to make decisions, and we like attention, so we want some fame, right? But the idea is that those are not goals unto themselves. Because when you reach to that level, in the end you're miserable. Because money is never enough. I already figured that out. I need $200 million. That should be enough. So, no? But the idea is money is never enough. Chazal say nobody leaves this world with half of his desires fulfilled. Because people always want more. More power than they want, Just think of the American election. Why do people want to be the president? For what? Because they want power. They want power. They want to shape the world according to their view. And who says they're right? Where's humility? Remember when the Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to appoint Moshe Rabbeinu as his messenger in the world, God through Moshe. What did Moshe Rabbeinu say? Pick somebody. I don't want it. It's not me. I'm not good. Yeah, just pick anybody but me. Anybody but me. And Hashem says, that's why I want you. Because it's the humility. Usually I say, if you don't want the guy that wants to be the president. That's not the guy you want to be the president. Because he wants it usually for the wrong reasons. It doesn't matter Republican or Democrat. It's sort of, just think about the idea. The whole world of creativity is based on imagination. You're selling something that doesn't really, you're not selling shoes. You're selling an image. An image is not real. It's not real. We talked about this.
The actions that inspire could be real.
Actions this world is all about action. We're going to talk about that in the next chapter. Correct. This world is about action. It's not about intention. It's the actions. Right? In America we say it's the thought that counts. Not really. If you punch somebody in the nose, you say, I really thought that I was making a nice gesture. No, you broke my nose. So the Alei Shur brings a passage from Chavos HaLevavos, the Duties of the Heart. Duties of the Heart is a book written in Arabic in Spain in the 11th century by Bachya ibn Pakuda, a rabbi and a dayan. He was a judge in Spain. Translated into Hebrew in the 12th century. I'm not going to read the whole passage because the passage is complicated, and I'm going to give you just the gist of it. But he says the following idea, that true free will is dependent on the purity of your intellect. If your intellect has not been corrupted, you will have free will to make a decision between truth and falsehood. And this idea of purity means that the imagination of doing sins hasn't affected your intellect. And that's the idea. So what is the source of the imagination? right? Because that seems to be what we're all dealing with. We have an intellect. It has an ability to think and do certain things that we talked about last week and the week before. So how did we get this imagination in us? That this imagination is affecting our free will, making us choose things that we shouldn't choose, and confuses us to think clearly. Sometimes we don't know what's fact or fiction. We don't know. The imagination also produces our self-image. And how do you know that your self-image is actually matching reality? Maybe your self-image is wrong. But Rabbi, why? I'm the best student. Well, you don't wake up to class. I do. I'm there every day. Really? Well, a couple of times a week. But otherwise, I'm there. So he says, the source of the imagination is Adam's sin. The Gemara says in Avodah Zarah that when the snake came to Eve, the serpent came to Eve, he put in her impurity. Okay? And what did she receive? So the Maharsha says that according to the Rambam, that was the imagination. That what did this serpent put into her? The imagination. There's another source called the Kolbo that says that the serpent created doubt, put doubt in her mind. Doubt. You start doubting things. You're not sure. And the Yetzer Hara uses doubt all the time. They'll come to you and say, how do you really know that it's true? Maybe it's all just a trick. Just go back to your normal life. Back to the kindergarten kids. Change diapers. We have two ideas here. One is that the serpent brought into us imagination, and the second idea that it created doubt. And really, both of them are true. Because in Eve, she had a doubt of what was the commandment. Did he say, not touch or not eat or what? And there seems to be, we hear from the psukim, the verses in the Torah, all of a sudden she had a desire for the tree. And that is an imagination. She imagined that it's beautiful, it must be so tasty, it must be so good. And the imagination got her to eat. She had doubt whether we were forbidden to eat it. And then she ate. He says that the imagination and the suffix, this doubt, mixed in the human being, and so that your intellect is open, your mind is open to doubts, to times when you're not sure what the right thing is. And that is what how the Yetzer gets you. Now, when we got the Torah on Har Sinai, that ended. The effect of the imagination and of the doubt ended. Why? Because we experienced God and we got the Torah. With the giving of the Torah, the imagination and the doubting ended. And even after the sin of the golden calf occurred, we did not return 100% to the situation that existed before. We still have the imagination and we have the doubt, but they're not as powerful as they used to be before the giving of the Torah. So we have right now the Torah that God gave us that could weaken the imagination and the thoughts that the imagination implants in us, and can strengthen our intellect so that we can think clearly. But without the Torah, you're not going to get there. Because there's nothing to weaken the doubts and the imaginations that are attacking us all the time. And so he says that really there is a balance between this selecting the two options, between good and evil. The Yetzer HaTov, which has its intellect and all its powers, is rooted in your neshama. And the Yetzer Hara is the imaginations with the taivas, the desires that God put in the heart of a human being, that they're needed for the world to exist. Because if you did not have any desires, you just want to sit and learn Torah, nobody would get married, nobody would build a house, nobody would start a business. The world would not exist. You need that, but you need a balance. And that's the whole point of the Torah, living a balanced life, of understanding that you have to do part of it to take care of who you are, take care of the body, take care of its needs, take care of those sort of things. But on the other hand, cultivate and grow the spiritual aspect, because that's who you are. Because without a healthy balance between these two portions of the human being, you're going to have an imbalance. An imbalanced human being has problems, has serious, serious issues. And the way that we should pick, the way that we should select is one that takes care of the totality of the human being.